Oh, I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man. Now I am what I am, and that's all what I am. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Now I'm what of kazookas, what hates all palookas, what trains on the ox and swear. Boy, I biffs 'em and buffs 'em and always outroughs 'em, but none of 'em gets nowhere. Now if anyone dares to risk my fist, it's buff and it's wham, understand? So keep good behavior, it's sure one lifesaver with Popeye the Sailor Man. Oh, I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man. Boy, I am what I am, and that's all what I am. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
Gang, it's been over 3 decades since I first put on this uniform and this lanyard to become Officer Don. And it occurred to us that since you're adults now, between 25 and 45 years of age, and since people stop me on the street regularly, even yet, now 3 decades later, and say, I remember Ooey Gooey, we thought we'd do an Officer Don retrospective. We'd talk about Orville, a very funny dragon, and we'd look in front of the scenes and behind the scenes now that you're grown up. Hi, gang, it's the Popeye Club. A surprise how Officer Don came into being. I was sort of the station clown, one of those booth announcers at Channel 2 who, at the end of a network show, punched the button and said, WSB Television, Atlanta. And then the program director went to New York, saw a program called Officer Joe Bolton, a success in the afternoon using Little Rascals comedies, and said, would you be Officer Don? I said, no, I don't want to do that because I don't like kids. Turned out, however, that she used some persuasion. She said, well, if you don't do it, we'll fire you. That was the incentive I needed. The program wasn't the Popeye Club at the beginning. You may recall, if you're old enough, that in 1956 when it began, it was the Clubhouse Gang. I was the friendly cop on the beat, and they were showing Little Rascals cartoons. Then I think they called it Big Adventure, and somebody wanted me to wear a leopard skin outfit. And since I had a punch, even then, that was sort of ludicrous, and I was never the outdoor athletic type anyway. Then I think it became the Popeye Club. The funny thing is, nobody at the beginning even thought it would go for 14 straight years, the longest running kids show in Atlanta history, and one of the longest running kids shows in the history of television, anywhere. It was at the time the highest rated program in the nation, so far as kids shows were concerned. As so often happens, one of the best things, in fact, the best thing that ever happened to the show was Orville the Dragon, and it was an accident. This kid, 15-year-old Terry Kelly, came on. His mother drove him to the studio. He wanted to come on one time and plug a puppet show he was doing in downtown Atlanta. And it worked so well, and Terry Kelly, as Orville the Dragon, was so funny and alert that we just put him on regularly, first 3 times a week, as I recall, and then finally all the time. I think Orville was probably the reason that the Officer Don Popeye Club, or whatever it was called, stayed on so long, because he put new life into the show.
For years before I was ever on the Popeye Club, I used to watch it. Remember, it was a real big deal. I guess I was just like all the other kids, and that's what made it even more surprising and more exciting the first day I was on the air. I really thought Officer Don was a big deal.
Hey, Orv!
Officer Don!
Hi!
Hi!
Orville, it's great to see you!
It is good to see you. You look terrific.
When Don and I would do a bit, he'd never know about it. Some people think that we spent a lot of time on some of the routines that we did, but actually we spent very little. Normally, Don would rush into the dressing room about 5 minutes before the show, and I'd tell him how the beginning of the routine was going to start. The thing I'd never tell him was how the bit was going to end. Whether it was a pie in the face, donut dough, or pizza dough on his head, or water being splashed all over him. He never knew what was going to happen.
Do you mind if I take a bite of this?
No, if you take a very, just take a big chunk out of it, I think you'll like it. I like some, too.
You want me to take a very tiny bite?
Sure.
All right.
Sure. What do you think, gang? Should he take a bite? Yeah! No!
Now, do you assure
Music to my
me,
ears.
Orville, that nothing will happen if I take a bite of this cake?
Nothing? Nothing will happen.
Are you sure, Orville,
I am positive.
that if I take a bite of this cake, nothing disastrous will occur?
With our luck, nothing probably will.
Friends
Well,
to the end.
That's right. Let me $5.
That's the end.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Are you ready? Here we go. The same old routines work, but not well.
Yes.
I'm really going to enjoy this cake.
You are?
Didn't work. Okay, ready?
A nice. There we go.
I don't care.
My cake!
Why?
You ruined my cake! This is terrible! This is terrible! My cake's ruined! I'm sorry, Officer Dodd. I didn't know!
Well, I'm sorry, Orville. That was the lightest cake I ever tasted.
Maybe it was the popcorn I put in there.
Maybe that was it.
That could
Yes.
have been. I promise I'm going to make you another one.
Are you ready for a cartoon?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Ready, gang? Ready, okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.